Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to Foreign Correspondent House of Asia. This is going to go live on Facebook, so may I request you to kindly switch out your mobiles or put them in silent mode so that there is no interruption in the recording. John Eliot needs no introduction in India. He spent more than a quarter century here off and on from the 1980s and
Quarter.
what else was there?
You said a quarter.
A quarter.
Oh, that's right.
And from Indira Gandhi onwards, he has seen most of the prime ministers in action, and first came here to set up the Financial Times of London, their office in Delhi. Then he has been associated with The Economist, Fortune, and a lot of magazines, and he just updated this book IMPLOSION, which has won an award. This is actually the third edition, and it includes Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 4.5 years in power, and I think it is a timely book, and I'm going to ask John to tell us something about how he came to write about the book and what his experiences in India have been, and now he's based in London, but he keeps coming to India once a year to spend several weeks and so on. John.
This is on. This book first came out as a hardback in 2014, by which time I'd been here 20 years or so, and thought I should write a book about India. And it was called IMPLOSION, partly because it was just before the 2014 election, and I think people were in the mood for a bad news book, the negatives of India, because everybody felt a new country was needed to try and sort things out. It could have been called By the Elephant, which is a blog that I've been writing for some years. But anyway, it was called IMPLOSION, which was basically about institutions and organisations and the general running of the country being less efficient and less effective than it had been when I first came here in 1983. The things I was told as the new Financial Times correspondent in 1983 had being the reason to invest here has become less effective by the time that I wrote the book. So that was the first edition, and it looked into a whole range of things and partly focused on Jugaad and Chautai as a theme, with the thought of how from a country which believes in fixing things at the last minute and then hopes that everything will be all right however it comes about, how could it ever be totally successful? So that was the hardback. And then when Narendra Modi was elected, I wrote a new section at the end called Modifying India, which introduced Modi into the book and looked at the things that he'd been elected to do. And in a way, what I felt was that the things that I had said were not working well in the country were in fact the things that he was being elected to sort out: the corruption, the lack of effectiveness, the lack of government performance, and so on. And now that he'd been in power for 4 or 5 years, I said to my publisher, why don't we do another edition, the last edition, there won't be another one, on his 5 years, which I wrote in London. It came out extremely longer than the publisher had hoped for, but he printed every word I wrote, which was nice of him, or then. And I sat in London wondering what to call that section, the new section, which I'll come to in a minute. And I thought of unmodifying India and not modifying India and various other things with Modi in 2 or 3 words. And I couldn't think how to do that. So eventually I thought of a simple phrase, and it's called the Modi years, not what was needed. not what was needed in terms of reforms that were not done, and not what was needed in terms of Hinduista things, a catchphrase, which were done. So my conclusion is that he has not performed what he was expected to do, and he has not fulfilled his promise of Achar Din. And I keep on saying him because it's him. That's his choice. He portrayed himself as being the person who was going to lead India to a new future. I'm rather reminded of Theresa May, who tried the same thing a couple of years ago with an election in Britain. That she was going to lead Britain onto a great future, and she almost lost the election and has failed. Modi's failed, and we now wait to see what will happen in the next election. But my theme, also alongside that, is what has emerged from these 4 or 5 years is that India now has to choose between 2 sharply contrasting futures. One is to become a primarily Hindu nation with the BJP and its fiercely Hindu nationalist creed in control, and with Muslims and other minorities regarded as second-class citizens and with declining freedoms, but with a Prime Minister who might improve at getting things done, because he does give the impression of wanting to get things done. He hasn't succeeded because he spent so much time in the last 4 or 5 years in announcing schemes without focusing on how to implement them. So that's on one side. The other side is to continue with what was in place before, which was a tolerant secular tradition set by Nehru. And for that, probably a new national leader is needed, and there isn't one around. We'll see what comes out from the opposition in the next election. But that's the choice, which is the choice in this election. I mean, that's part of my theme. But one more thing before I stop with your questions. I was accused by many people. I write a current affairs blog called Riding the Elephant, which started on the Fortune website and then I took it over. I was accused of being pro-Modi and of liking Modi. That was partly, I suspect, because in 2002 I wrote a column. I was then writing a column in the Business Standard, and I wrote a column about how I saw Narendra Modi as India's next big leader, and that was 2002. And even Rajdeep Sarvasai admits, and has admitted sort of publicly, that I beat him to that forecast, although he forecast it very soon after. I can go into the ways of how that happened if I'm asked about it, but I was on a big fight program with him and went away with Modi, and went away thinking here's a guy who has all the makings of a leader. But I wasn't in favour. I simply felt the country needed a leader, and when he was elected, it was a gamble. Voting for Modi in the BJP, and people, writers, journalists like me who thought maybe he would achieve something, it was a gamble for those who were not committed supporters. The hope was that he would bring to government the drive that he had shown as Chief Minister of Gujarat, and that he and his party, and this was my feeling, would refrain from the excessive Hindu nationalism of the RSS. And I wondered whether, as a committed nationalist, he would want to have a strong country, a strong, successful country, of which he could be nationalistically proud. And for that reason, he wouldn't want to muck up his first term in office. What would happen in the second term would be a different case. But he wouldn't muck up his first term in office by allowing the extremists in his group of organisations to spoil the record. And that didn't happen, of course. The gamble, I say in here, in my view, has not paid off. Modi has not met the targets, expectations and hopes of those who voted for him, and has led an increasingly authoritarian and centralised government with restrictions on personal freedoms, with mob violence by vigilante gangs who feel protected by his regime being in power. And along with that, he has further undermined the institutions that I felt were under threat, hence the IMPLOSION title. When I first wrote the book, I wondered I said to HarperCollins, could we change the title, because implosion may not sound right. And they wouldn't change the title for obvious reasons, because the title's there and the book's there, the front cover's there. And they wouldn't change, but as I wrote it, I felt that probably implosion was still right, because India is at this crossroads. And one other thing, and then I shall stop. As I wrote it, and journalists here will know this, how this happens. You start writing something, you try to be totally even-handed, and having had 20 years on the MT, what else could I be? And I found the more I got into this, the more negative I became. And at one point I had to go back and to have a fresh look at things, because I felt it shouldn't be quite so negative as it was coming out. But it was very hard, I found, as I look back at these 4 or 5 years, to find much that was positive, and we can talk about what was, because obviously something had been achieved. But I was surprised how I came out as negative as I did, or as negative as I had been.
Thank you, John. You say in your book that the alternatives before India and the Modi government becomes a Hindutva society where minorities are relegated to the back, or the Nehruvian secularism. Historically, the Hindus are a very tolerant community. And we always had people belonging to different religions coming to India to seek refuge, asylum, and we all accepted them. I really wonder if the average Hindu, or majority of the Hindus, would really like to see India as only a Hindu country, because the Hindus are only 80% of the population, and Muslims account for the third largest community in the world after Indonesia and Pakistan. So I don't really see India becoming a Hindu-only country where the Hindus have, enjoy all the benefits like the Muslims do in Malaysia and other Islamic countries and so on. So, what is your view on that?
Yes, maybe I should have rephrased it, and it's a bit late to get in and re-edit it now, but perhaps I should have rephrased it. The choice is for them to vote for a party that wants that. That's the choice. The choice is, are they going to elect a party and a government and the whole RSS group of organisations who want that? That's the choice. I don't think they do. But on the other hand, there's a lot of people in this country who still think, probably, and we were hearing an example just now of young students who still seem to believe that the choice is worth choosing Modi to be the leader, to be the Prime Minister, because he can achieve things. But the price of that is you will have a party in power, assuming he gets enough votes, enough seats to continue as Prime Minister, and Amit Shah as the party president. You're voting for a group of organisations that wants that to happen.
Initially, Modi said, I'm undertaking a large number of ambitious tasks. So I need at least 2 terms, 10 years. It is true that he launched them without thinking too much about implementation, or in a huge country like India, which accounts for 1/5 of the human race, doing anything yearly after a long time is not really that easy, particularly given corruption and whatnot. Do you think that Modi deserves a second term?
I would, if it wasn't for the social Hindutva aspect. Yes, because one would hope that he's realised what he hasn't achieved, and they are announcing a whole load of things now, and that the drive might improve. But that would obviously depend on what the opposition was, and how credible you would think a coalition of the other parties would be. Yeah. And of course, I mean, it is a huge task, but he has done something so badly and failed to do others. I mean, just going through, if I can, through some of the headlines. The book is, the new part of the book is divided into 5 sections. The general politics and power section to begin with, which introduces Modi and Shah and the way he focuses all power in the Prime Minister's office, the rule by fear over bureaucrats and ministers, over-centralising decision-making and attempting to curb corruption, but only at a certain level. And we can come back to that. And then there's defence, which he has totally failed to, defence manufacturing and procurement, which is a huge gap in his performance. And there are policies and structures ready to be implemented. And all he had to do was just have a defence minister who would kick them into action. The idea of selecting private sector companies which would be sort of champions and get the same rights as the public sector, and then bring in partnerships with foreign companies and with the public sector. And although there's been a bit of movement in the last few months, for 4 years, nothing virtually, leaving Rafale out of it, nothing happened. And that, in a way, is astonishing, because he didn't have to think up any new policies. They were politically uncontroversial. The trade unions might not like them, the public sector might not like them, but they were in place, and they've been in place for years. And he did nothing about it. And then on economic reforms, we can go into more detail on that. And then social, these are different sections, social harmony and foreign policy is the way ahead. And I look at 4 subjects in particular. Demonetisation, about which I don't think I need to say anything. It was a disaster. It was part of his ego trip. I think at a certain point, Narendra Modi believed he could achieve anything. That doesn't matter what he wanted, whatever he decided, he could do it. And that seems to be the character of the man. And there's 2 examples of that. One is demonetisation, which was ludicrously planned and introduced. And how ludicrous that, whatever, 3 years later, they decided a 2,000 rupee note, which jammed up the ATM, so to speak, for several weeks, was a bad idea, and they're not going to print many more. Demonetisation was a disaster, and it was an ego trip. And the other one, although there's not a section on that in here, but it comes into corruption and into defence, was the Rafale deal. Imagine a Prime Minister going to Paris and taking one of the country's most unsuccessful, most indebted, most suspect businessmen with him on the trip, and then ordering, I can't remember how many it is, it's in the book, 36 aircraft or whatever it was, ordering 36 aircraft, breaking the procedures, with a deal that was bound to be controversial. I mean, how crazy can you get when you finish up creating you, the Prime Minister, finish up creating your own corruption crisis? I mean, Bofors and Rajiv Gandhi, which I lived through in the 80s, he inherited that Bofors deal and he tried to implement it and got some things wrong on the fixing. But this one, the Prime Minister created it. He went to Paris and created all the ingredients, which was astonishing. So I think that showed the ego of him. And the other one, which I do in detail, Make in India in detail, which he announced as a slogan, designed by his chief slogan writer, Amitabh Kant, and did nothing to make it implement. He made to implement it, and it turned out to be totally non-effective in creating manufacturing jobs. And the other one is Swachh Bharat, and on this I'm in a minority, I think, because I actually think it's a good idea. I've seen all sorts of toilets not being used in Madhya Pradesh, but I think it's a great reform which the Prime Minister genuinely wants to change the culture, if that's the right way to put it. I think it's an enormously brave attempt, to try to change the way that people behave. Okay, as I say, I've seen broken down concrete rooms as opposed to houses where it's been used for all sorts of things, mostly in Bangladesh over the last few weeks. But it was a brave attempt, and I think eventually it could well be seen as the social change which this Prime Minister should be remembered for.
So one of the reasons I think for Modi's failure to get legislation through the upper house is, he lacks the ability of a Narasimha Rao or a Vajpayee to take the opposition along. And he never really tried to befriend either Manmohan Singh or Sonia Gandhi or Rahul after he became president of the party and so on. And thinking that we're going to get a majority of our own, and so that ego thing could be one more reason for his failure, because they are not going to get a majority in the Rajya Sabha till 2022. And if you want to pass important legislation, you need a majority in both the houses. And the Congress is only giving it back to the BJP which is sabotaged Manmohan Singh's UPA too, right? So the Congress people may be thinking that, the BJP came to power by simply blocking us, so let us give it back to them.
Yeah, well, that's politics, isn't it? But he has shown himself not to be. A leader should be able to deal with people, should be able to carry people with him, should see an important part of the job is to bring people with him, both the people who are his supporters and others as well. But he has failed to take. He's failed to take people with him. He's failed to cooperate, but not only just with the opposition, but with his own people, with anybody. It's just him and Amit Shah and what else?
So let's take a look at the opposition and the effort they're making to get together. And there are maybe 8 or 10 prime ministerial aspirants. And in UP, Akhilesh Yadav and Mayawati got together and they said, we don't want the Congress. And in Telangana, we have KCR. He wants to have a federal front in which the mainline opposition political parties, the Congress and BJP are not there. But you cannot form a government in this country without either inside or outside support by one of these two parties. And so, people, do we deserve a Khichdi government, in year 2019, when, the World Bank and everybody is expecting India to overtake China in terms of population by, the next decade or so, and we have already overtaken number 3 in terms of GDP as a British. So, don't you think that it seems as of now the TNOW factor is operational? There is no alternative. It used to be said about Indira Gandhi when she came back to power in 1980, if you remember. Ronald Reagan came up with this famous theory, TNOW factor. So at this point of time, Rahul has not been able to establish his leadership credentials. And none of the other people who are dreaming of becoming the Prime Minister, they have a national stature to become the Prime Minister. So how do you look at, post-May 2019 scenario in India?
Well, this is something I've been talking about to people in the last few days as well, because I've been over here for a few weeks, because I need to write something about politics here, having been here that length of time. And there doesn't seem to be anybody. I think the most interesting news of what is a re-entry is Chandrababu Naidu, who years ago, in the 90s, was late 90s, was an extremely effective convener of the opposition. And when I was in London looking at the news, and when I saw him with Rahul Gandhi during the state elections, I wondered whether there was a partnership going down, not just in Chandrababu Naidu can be the next Prime Minister, but I wondered whether the organisation of the opposition might change, because Chandrababu Naidu was good at it then. He hasn't been figuring on the national stage since then. The other candidates, I've got no chance, Mamata and my what has got no chance of being people who can pull people together. So I wonder whether he might be effective on that. The other interesting thing, of course, is what would happen if Narendra, if the BJP didn't get enough seats for people still to, I was going to say want or tolerate Narendra Modi as the leader, and who that would be. And everybody said it would be Gaikwad. And I can't find anybody, and I've been trying really hard in the last week or two. I can't find anybody who's got any other candidate other than Gaikwad as the new Prime Minister. If Modi was pushed aside. But yes, it's a problem. And Rahul Gandhi is very stupid, in my view, not to have taken the opportunity when Manmohan Singh was in power to have taken on ministerial office and got some experience. Because he's absolutely nil, nothing at all. And Manmohan Singh would have taken him, certainly in the first term, and been able to lead him into, start him off in the MEA and then move him to some ministry where he runs something to do with rural development and give him experience.
I would say Rahul's refusal to become minister in Manmohan Singh's cabinet is the second great historical blunder in Indian politics. The first being the communists preventing Jyoti Basu from becoming the Prime Minister of India. The history would have been different.
Exactly.
And you see, West Bengal is the only state which has 42 seats, and Mamata is hoping to get at least 40 of them. Chandrababu Naidu wielded clout in undivided Andhra Pradesh because he had 42 seats. Now it is split, and both of them are vying for power, and he is in serious trouble to get re-elected even in Andhra. So,
yes, he might lose seats, but he still might play the role of being a consultant.
But you see,
Congress and Naidu have already split.
They've already split.
Are they split?
Yes, yes.
Is it working anymore?
No, they're not.
Oh, well, they're not. So what's the problem living abroad? It takes a long time.
romance.
When you have 35,
That's a load of rubbish.
when you have 35 party seats, in the Lok Sabha of your own, other regional parties will listen to what you're saying. But if your strength is reduced and you're losing popularity in your own constituency, so it's going to be quite a complicated thing. So let us throw the discussion open. Whoever wants to ask question, kindly raise their hand.
I am a media academician and also I am a contributor with Russian International Affairs Council and Global Ethics Network. As you rightly said, sir, that last 4 or 5 years can be figured out on 4 or 5 areas. Number one, the nationalism or Hindu nationalism, or as I say, hyper-nationalism. Second is demonetization. Third is the cow slaughter and cow mob lynching. And there are several other issues, development being one, Make in India campaign being another. One thing which has been very obvious, that government has launched almost hundreds of schemes, and you rightly said that on the ground, most of those schemes are hanging in middle. And one part of Indian election campaign has always been a great oration skills of the political leaders. And Indian public in large generally get confused with these oration skills, whether it is Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I wouldn't also leave Indira, Mrs. Gandhi. She was also a great orator. So, in these, and one more important thing is the caste politics, particularly in the states like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. So there are several factors which are going to guide this coming elections. So how do you rate? You have very rightly said that government has miserably failed on several areas which they promised and they could not fulfill. But the oration skill of Modi is in the way that people get attracted towards him, or like radio message on Man Ki Baat and different other.
Sorry, what's the question?
My question is, what are your expectations in the 2019 elections? If government is failing on several issues, the promises which it has not been able to fulfill, how do you see the results of 2019 elections?
I'm not forecasting that, but I think there will be. I think there's widespread popularity still for Narendra Modi and for the BJP. I think around the country, in rural areas, away from the towns, and in some of the towns, there is support. I think people do believe his slogans. I've heard examples of where people in villages have said, we'll have insurance now, the health's going to be okay, that's going to be organised, this is going to be organised. This book is not an assessment of how people are thinking, it's an assessment of what he's achieved, which are two different things. So I think there is a widespread support here, because people still believe in him. They don't see the failures as clearly as should be. And I don't know how widely Hindutva and all the things that worry us in terms of freedoms, media freedoms, rights of women actually affect voters as decisions when they come to vote. I don't know the answer. So for that reason, it will not surprise me if he gets substantial votes. Lutyens, Delhi, or London is not the right place to decide to discover what people think. I was in Sri Lanka for 10 days until a few days ago, and I found conversations there trying to find people to realistically talk about Rajapaksa. It's almost as difficult as trying to find people in Delhi to talk realistically about Modi.
John, here is the question. On one side is Narendra Modi, the leader of the Hindu nationalism. Let's go to the other side, the secular, the Nehruvian secularism which you said. Who do you think can emerge as a leader from this side of Nehruvian secularism, so that the people can have a choice between Hindu nationalism and Nehruvian secularism, or whatever it is, the secularism?
Well,
this is the first question. Second is, in a situation where BJP fails to get a majority, means BJP fails to cross the 200 mark. 272 is the magic figure. If BJP crosses 200 mark, somewhere between 210 to 220, it can cobble up the other parties and lead the coalition. But in case the BJP does not get the required number, that means when BJP gets less than 200 seats, then it will be a coalition, a situation will be a coalition of parties supported by BJP, on either BJP or by the Congress, if Congress gets a requisite strength enough to support the coalition of parties. So, what is the situation, scenario what you could predict?
I don't predict, and the book doesn't try to. It's off the subject of the book. I mean, I'll give a quick.
Predict in the sense of a journalist and analyst, not as an astrologer. Prediction does not mean as an astrologer, but projection as a journalist for the future. These are the two questions.
All right. On your first question, the last 10 words or however many it is. Say for that to happen, a new leader has to emerge, and that's where the book ends.
Who is the new leader? What is
If
your
anybody else has
position?
got an idea, then you throw a name in and we can discuss it, but I have no name to offer. If anybody else has got a name, just say it and we can talk about it. I challenge
And the second
That's
part of the
the- that's
question,
anybody to come up with another name, with a name.
That's the news. You have no name to offer.
I have no name to offer. Do you have a name to offer?
No, I'm saying that's the key thing.
That's the problem.
That's the key.
And I answered before saying what a pity that Rao, since, but Rao, I've got to be very careful since we're being recorded how I word this. Rao Gandhi is the natural, sadly, natural person to be it. Because he's the head of the dynasty. The dynasty has a huge grip on politics. Maybe declining, maybe not. He is the natural person to lead it because there's nobody in the regions, from the regions, to do it. But sadly, as I said just now, he hasn't taken the first steps and he hasn't proved himself over the years. And I've been watching him certainly since 2004 when he entered politics. And I covered his father when he came into politics in the 80s, so I've seen a Gandhi develop. But he hasn't done it. And that's the tragedy. Because like dynasties or not, and I argue in the first edition of this book, passionately and strongly against dynasties. And it is ridiculous that let's not get into the story. It's ridiculous that the Congress Party should be where it is, and it is ridiculous that I should have to give you that answer. In fact, that's the best thing I can say. It is ridiculous that I have to give you the answer that Rahul Gandhi should be in a position to be the next Prime Minister. It's ridiculous that there is nobody else who's come forward and that he would be the only name, and nobody's arguing with me in this room.
but Congress has to have that much strength.
Well, that's not the issue. I mean, I'm talking about the logic that there's nobody else, and there is nobody else. And I don't think there's a Narasimha Rao in the wings to come forward. Now, Narasimha Rao, before he became Prime Minister, was regarded as a has-been, as a guy on the way out. The first time I came across him was during the NAM conference in 1983 or 84, and Indira Gandhi regarded him so unimportant that she sent him off to the Middle East to do something so that he wouldn't wander around NAM and take any of the glory away from her. And we all thought he was finished and then he stepped forward, but I don't think there's anybody in that sort of situation to do it. Your second question?
Second question is that in a situation where the BJP does not cross the 200
Oh, yes.
so
Yeah.
and it has to support the group of parties.
Well, I mean,
Either BJP or
I'm not going to get into that because I'm not close enough to the ground. I'm a visitor. I've been here 6 weeks. But it depends. I think one needs to look at the parties in the south. One needs to look at the states in the south. I don't think one should focus only on Uttar Pradesh. The states in the south have swung elections in the past. So look at Chennai, look at Tamil Nadu, look at Andhra and Telangana, and see how they're going to go. Check whether the BJD will stay with the BJP from Orissa, whether Navin Patnaik will stay there. Check the Chief Minister of Telangana to see if he's going to stay with the BJP. I assume that the Akali Dal will in Punjab, and see how it comes out. I suppose the only positive thing is that if you did have the BJP leading a coalition with those parties being more important, maybe Modi might actually have to start cooperating with these parties, and they might have some influence on policy, which they've never had, which they haven't at all in the last 4.5 years.
Hello. This is Ravi Misra. Actually, we are talking about governance.
I think it's talking about
We are talking about governance. Governance.
government.
Mr. Modi was Chief Minister of Gujarat, and then he just became Prime Minister. Rahul Gandhi has not been, a minister. Priyanka Gandhi is entered into politics. She has been given in charge of Eastern Uttar Pradesh. The son of KCR, K.T. Rama Rao, is also the minister in Telangana. Kumaraswamy became chief minister because of his father. Don't you think that this dynasty is a poison for India? Is it good or bad? What do you think? This dynasty is good or bad? Because in India, because competent people who are capable to deliver, they don't get chance. What's your opinion on this?
Absolutely. No, I mean my answer on Rahul Gandhi should not be taken as supporting the idea of dynasty. I was saying it was regrettable that that was the answer I gave. No, absolutely not. Dynasties are most dynasties, and I write about this in the original edition, are in it for to continue families in power for corrupt and power reasons rather than any other reason. I can't think of any other dynasty, or maybe there's one or two, which are in it for genuine reasons. I am naive enough to believe that the Gandhis actually feel a national duty to serve the country. You might say, well, then why didn't they just pack up and stop doing it? But once you're in, it's very difficult to end it. So, no, I mean, I'm not supportive. I think most of the regional dynasties are in it for the wrong reasons, and I think that the Gandhis are blocking, obviously, the leadership, the access to the top, which blocks the development. So they block, a shorter answer, they block the development of the parties where they're in place, and they ease the implementation of corruption.
To be or not to be the next Prime Minister is just all about the number game. To be or not to be the next Prime Minister of India, it's all about the number game. Whoever is in a position to gather enough vote bank and to qualify for the right number, basically. You as a journalist, as an analyst, you have seen Narendra Modi for a very, very long time. I would like to ask you your observation. Do you think his popularity has dipped, it's gone down? Or do you think that he's gonna emerge as a much more stronger person? Your observation. I haven't read your book yet.
Do I think?
Do you think Modi's popularity has gone down or up?
Oh, depends where you're sitting. Depends where you're sitting. I mean, I think I've answered it, because I said that I think that there's still strong support for it. And I'm not sure about popularity at all, but I mean, I don't know whether he was popular, or whether people just felt he was a strong leader who could get things done, which is slightly different.
Popular as a leader, as a deliverer, as someone who made a commitment and delivered, credibility.
Oh, well, I think his credibility has slipped enormously, but as I said earlier, I think I've answered it, but I don't think, I think his credibility has slipped enormously, but I don't think that a lot of voters believe that. And I think that he still has the power to pull in the votes. But let me make one point, which I should have made earlier on this. We've never seen Modi, and I'm thinking about writing about this, which I haven't up to now. It's not in the book. We haven't seen Modi fighting on the back foot. If you talk in market terms, and I was saying this to a banker yesterday, he's on a rising market, he's fantastic. Everything's going with him. And then when the market goes down, he's not proved he can do it. We've seen, I left in May to move back to London. Before then, when he had losses, he overreacted enormously. And it wasn't a loss, but when he didn't do as well as he thought he ought to do in the Gujarat elections, I mean, it really appeared to rattle him. So we haven't seen how this man can operate, as we will see in the next months, when he hasn't got this great message to send out for the first time. He's, as the BJP has shown in state elections, they're good at getting power where they haven't got power. They have not been so good at keeping power, where they're already in. So, and also his speeches before I left were getting extremely boring. I mean, I went to a couple that he was making where he was on the normal stuff about all the things he was going to do and all the things that had been done, but the delivery, he even had a slideshow going on behind him of all the charts and things. Well, a politician like Modi should not be showing charts. He should be inspiring people. And it was really boring. It sounded as though it was written and delivered by an analyst for analysts. If a banker went to persuade people to invest in some company or something or other, I can imagine them doing what Modi did with all this stuff going up behind. So I don't think, I mean, I've avoided your question by giving a different answer. But that's okay, isn't it?
Got it, thank you.
Yeah, I'm Professor Peterson. I work with the Oslo Research Foundation. Apart from hubris on the side of Modi, what would you say are the reasons that this government didn't manage to pull all the reforms, and there are much more than the Swachh Bharat that are important and necessary. I mean, the GST, the Ayushman Bharat, the Make in India, all these initiatives that have been taken that were basically, I think, the right approaches. And it is very unlikely that you will find another government with that kind of majority to push it through. So are there any other reasons, or are there different reasons for different reforms that actually prevented them to succeed? Because that would actually raise the question who and when and if at all it is possible to bring about this kind of change.
That gives me a chance to correct slightly the drift of what I've been saying, which is they have obviously achieved with some things. I mentioned Swachh Bharat as something which I think is much more successful than it's given credit for generally because of the enormity of the task. But where the government is criticised for not achieving things, that again, nobody's fault for over-egging what he hoped to achieve and for overselling it. Also, of course, GST, though that badly introduced, is a great advance. The bankruptcy code, at a different level, the highway programme, the power projects, the sorting out of all that mess, that muddle that they inherited from the previous government of the stalled projects, and all of that has been a great success. Digitisation pushed by them, I think we'll see that in the future as being a great achievement. Another negative I'm going to add in, and then I'm going to come back to your question, is the environment, where they have shown absolutely no interest at all in saving the environment, in protecting wildlife corridors and the ruins of ruining rivers, the development, and that whole swathe. They've appointed people who are no longer independent, and they have changed regulations so that industry, and especially some favoured few, can more or less do what they like. But I think that coming back to your question, I think the main problem is the fact that although many of the things were good, potentially, demonetisation wasn't. But most of the things that they've tried to do are good. There's no reason why you shouldn't have a Make in India campaign. But you've got to design it so that it attracts jobs, and jobs have not been attracted. I mean, if you say this to a meet of Kant, as I did at the Jaipur Literary Festival, where I was on a platform with him, I mean, and he went on and on about FDI, and said FDI is gone up, you must be wrong. But of course FDI is increased, and it is good, but it hasn't been job creating FDI. The jobs have not been created. So I think that a lot of the things that they've designed have been great ideas, but they haven't been implemented properly, and Modi has not focused on implementation.
I was wondering, could you say anything about the influence of the RSS on BJP?
Influence of?
The RSS.
Yes.
So to what extent do they influence the governing?
I think it varies. I think that they do at a certain level. I don't think they do on all policies, but I think they do at a certain level. And since you have many people, and I ought to know the percentage, and I can't remember it, of the cabinet who have RSS origins, some closer to the RSS than others who have RSS origins, then obviously there's a considerable influence. But the RSS seems to be in a bit of a muddle at the moment, with recent statements about softening their attitudes, so it's not quite clear where they're heading.
You mean the cultural Hindu?
Yes.
John, thank you for a very good talk. So during the course of your talk, you said that Modi's ego is something that's putting him down. What are the other traits, individual traits you think he has that's been putting him down or failing him as a leader? Modi.
And what do I think?
What other individual traits other than his ego that you pointed out during the course of your talk? What are the other individual traits that Modi has that's been pulling him down as a leader or failing him as a leader?
What are his traits?
Yes.
Well, that gives me a chance to tell my story from just after it was on Star, I think. The big fight was then, the anchor was Rajiv Sarasai. And he used to have two journalists on either side of him, as side people. And they had a program on Islam and terrorism. And I was the Fortune correspondent at the time, so I sort of had a very tag. I was persuaded to go on, although I didn't want to, because I did not regard Islam or at that stage terrorism as things that I knew enough about to go on television, but I was persuaded. And there were three other people, there were three protagonists. And one of them was G. Parsati, who had been head of external publicity, who I'd known from the 80s. And I regarded him as my friend who would look after me if I stumbled and got a little wrong. And if he hadn't been on, I wouldn't have dared do it. But because he was there, I thought, well, at least I got a friend in the room. The middle guy was an elderly Islamic scholar. What's his name now? I'm beginning to say it.
Never mind.
His son is the ex-Newsweek guy who's on television all the while in America. Come back to me. Zakaria. So we've got Parsati there, we've got Zakaria there, and we have Narendra Modi there. And he was then a general secretary in the BJP. And not that well known outside. And Islam and terrorism was a subject. And at one point, Zakaria and Modi got into a huge argument. I mean, Parsati and Rajiv Sarasai and I were hardly, and the other scientists were hardly relevant. And Modi broke into English. And this is on YouTube, and I can tell anybody the link afterwards. This is on YouTube. All you've got to do is to Google Islam, terrorism, Zakaria, Modi, whatever. My name won't tell us, but I think it's that one. And he broke into English, and he argued with Zakaria for some time. And his English in 2000, and whatever that was, 9/11, was speaking at the speed at which I am now. He was ad-libbing, and sometimes he was speeding up, ad-libbing in English, which actually was better English than when he read speeches when he became Prime Minister. Because when he started to read speeches when he became Prime Minister, he didn't do it very well. He improved, but the English wasn't good. But that English was there. He then went off to be the Chief Minister in Gujarat a few weeks later, and then he stopped speaking English. Point of the story. When it was all over, and I was really impressed. He was genuine, he believed what he was saying. He was powerful. And afterwards he said something like to me, did you understand what I was saying? And I said, well, you spoke a lot in English, which was very nice, so I understood that. And then I made a cheeky remark, which was more or less to the effect, I didn't need to know what the words were when you were speaking in Hindi, which was so obvious that you were speaking. I didn't say Hindu, or whatever word I didn't use, and he roared with laughter. And he did, he really did. He just laughed. And I thought, here is India's potential next leader, and I wrote a column in the Business Standard about it. Because he had all the makings of a leader. He had charisma, he had passion, he had delivery, speech delivery in whatever language, he also spoke English, and he had a sense of humour. And there was nobody else to challenge him. And it wasn't very difficult to say he was the world country's next best leader, because we've already discussed in different contexts, more than anybody else. But I wrote it, and I wrote it about a month after Goga, which was not the most popular time to write it. But it hasn't worked. So he's got all those traits, all those characteristics, but he has not managed to add the extra thing, which is when you become the leader of the country, to actually be the leader. So I was right that he had the potential to become it, but I didn't think through the fact that when he became it, he wouldn't have to be able to do it.
Is it humility that he...
And then, by the way, as a journalist, he went off to Gujarat, so I didn't develop the greatest contact I could have had in my 20 years here.
What do you think that Mr. Modi couldn't deliver as he was expected to deliver? It is because of his style of functioning, or it is because of the nature of India's problems, India's social problems, India's economic problems? I mean, he was the majority government after 3 decades, and there was nobody in the party to stop him to take any decision at all, right? Why he couldn't deliver? I mean, where are the spectacular achievements?
I think that he's... people have been saying this to me recently, and I haven't really thought through how I want to balance this. But the general line is that he's a presenter of ideas and not an implementer. He did implement in Gujarat, but that was simple because he had bureaucrats he had a small group of bureaucrats who performed for us, who got things done. And that hasn't worked in the centre because it's just too big a problem. So he can lead by that, but by being a sort of dictator, and I don't want to misuse that word, but having dictatorial tendencies, that can work in a small group like Gujarat, but it doesn't work in a big bureaucracy. And I think it's got to the point where people then dare do things because of a fear of getting it wrong. And if you're always worried about the cost, then you don't perform because you're restricted in what you do or what you're trying to do.
Last, yes, sir.
This is Ranjan Bakshi. Do you think people vote differently in Lok Sabha elections and state elections, and the results of these last 3 states where they did go to the polls? I mean, that could have been anti-Shivraj, anti-Vasundhara Raje. And these people may vote differently when it comes to Lok Sabha, because now there is a Modi factor.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And it happens in all countries. It's not just India. All over the world, people vote differently in their states. And they may have thought, even if they were thinking nationally, they may have thought, well, he hasn't performed well, so we'll give him a kick, by a negative kick, by not voting through the state elections or for his party. But when he comes to the centre, then we'll support him again. Absolutely, yes. I mean, we can't read too much into these.
One last question, John. When comparison of India and China a couple of decades ago was published in paper by I saw your comments on what is foreign policy and his relationship with the Xi Jinping and all that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We haven't touched on foreign policy. I mean, I think I'm highly critical of what he hasn't, of the way that foreign policy has not been implemented. The mess that's been made of the relationships with in South Asia, the way that Hindu nationalism and the pandering to the BJP vote has governed the policy in relation to Pakistan. He's gone around the world making India better known than it has been, and he's raised the profile of India undoubtedly. And he's also increased his activities in various multilateral organisations. And that's been good and positive. But for all his dashing around the world, there's very little to show for it. And on China, who could win? And I think one has to temper any criticism of the way that he's handled China with the fact that no Prime Minister in India since 1962 has to face such a challenge on China as Modi's had to with the emergence of Xi Jinping, who has totally turned on its head China's gradualist approach to the way it treats the rest of the world. Nobody could have forecast when Xi Jinping came to power that he was going to do this. Nobody could have forecast how it would develop, and that Modi and his people would have to handle it. So I think on China, whatever the criticism one might make, one has to temper it with the fact that he's faced challenges that no other prime minister had to since 1962.
You know, given that Xi Jinping has great ideas about China, making China the most powerful country in the world, and sitting on $14 trillion worth of GDP, and practically dominating the whole region. In a situation like that, don't you think it would have made a lot of sense for India to work with China and the BRI and sort out the Azad Kashmir thing separately? Because
Yes, absolutely.
it doesn't make sense to China, India, Japan, and some other people trying to build like an Africa corridor, and it's not going to happen. I think Xi Jinping and China, their technology is amazing, they have the money. I think if they're trying to connect Africa, Asia, and Europe, I think that's a great idea. And who is going to spend $1 trillion making this happen? Only the Chinese can do that. So doesn't it make a lot of sense for India's point of view to join the Chinese and come some kind of arrangement about that portion through which the BRI passes to Pakistan, the Pakistan.
Yes, I think it was a mistake to have. It was a big mistake to have blocked the BRI or OBL, whatever it's called, and said we're not going to have any part in it, and not gone to that conference that happened, I think, in Shanghai, or certainly in China, on its last year or
last year.
Yeah. I think that was a big mistake. I think they should have, as you say, carved out the Pakistan one as being, look, we don't agree with this, but on the other ones, then they should have picked those that they were interested in. India should have picked those that it was interested in, and not put up a total war. I was in Sri Lanka a week ago. And
Colombo, Bihar?
Yeah, well, I woke up in the morning, I got in late in the evening, I woke up in the morning, I had a window looking out over the sea, and I spent a lot of time in Sri Lanka in the 80s in the Space Hotel, and I pulled the curtains back, and over there was this huge reclamation, which I'd written about, we've all written about. You have to see it to believe it. It looks like, if you know Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Doha in Qatar, it's not that surprising. You see another huge area recently, go there doing another mega city or something. But this is vast, and it's just off the capital. I mean, it's not, you can build a port on the other side, or you can build an airport that never was used, or you can build highways, or whatever. They're all of a different scale, including Hamby, how do you pronounce it, port on the other side of the island. But this is right in the capital, and it's right up, almost up against Gold Green. When you walk down Gold Green, you get to the hoardings around the site, and there are actually a few armed sentries standing there guarding God knows what. But it's right there in the capital. Now, China's going to help us walk away from that. There's one sceptical international diplomat who was there said to me, well, they can all turn it into the Formula One racetrack, which I suppose they could. But India was, in my view, is going to have difficulty deciding whether they want to invest there, and they shouldn't be. I mean, their position on the BRI makes that more complicated.
And also, the Chinese, Indian leaders and politicians are making a huge mistake. They're trying to equate themselves with China. Hello, we are not in competition. China is miles ahead of us, and it will take us a lot of time to catch up with them.
And the competition is over. The competition has been over.
So let's get used to that.
Yes.
And also Pakistan, I think it's a very silly mistake to suspect that Imran Khan is an army's crony. He is not. And the Indians have lost a great chance of making up with him, and they're trying to, misinterpret his intentions of Kartarpur and all that. That's another mistake of this double spy policy.
Well, that's another discussion altogether of Imdadim.
No longer.
Imran Khan, known as Imdadim, by his friends, the Financial Times, my old newspaper, the Financial Times, when he was elected, said that his critics described him as Imdadim, and it wasn't his critics, it was his friends, because I know one of his friends, and 12 years ago when I was staying with him in Islamabad, he told me all about Imdadim, who would never become Prime Minister. He's not right, he's got no power, wait for him to go. That was also negative time to finish on, wasn't it? I was arguing this with somebody 2 nights ago who was saying, well, India should be dealing with the government. So I said, what government? The ISI, the army, or a politician, or a government led by India who's got no nous on how to run it? There you go.
John, as a gesture of our appreciation, mark, specially designed for the 6th anniversary. And the book is available for 600 rupees. That's a special rate, and John will be very happy to autograph it for you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming and listening to John. This is very interesting.